In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you and explain to you how to use gitignore to ignore unwanted files in your repositories. Before we begin, quick reminder that I do a live stream every single day. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can visit ojambo.com. You can check out the upcoming tutorials, and you're free to join the live chat and ask questions about programming or lifestyle topics. Also, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. So, on to the show. So, what is gitignore? It's a way for you to keep unwanted files from your Git repositories. I'm using the webcam again. The reason for this is because I'm waiting to receive a GPU fan so I can hook up the GPU, and then I'll put the workstation in the proper place, so that way I won't have to move things around, and then the camera will be in a permanent position. Right now it's a little bit awkward position, so that's why I can't use it, but I'll just use the webcam. Should be good enough until the regular camera is set in its permanent position. Alright, so for example, this could include the files you don't want to be tracked. It could include like log files, OS generated files. I believe the ds_store, that's I think something that Mac OS does. It could be compiled binaries. Obviously, you guys know, for example, if you use Java, it always compiles things C and all those as well. You might not want, you do not want to commit those. And then personal setting files. Another one is Android. Android, every time you do even just for example, when you're debugging, you have to create an APK file. So the type of things you don't want to commit. Everything else, yes. And thankfully, Git has a built-in feature called gitignore that allows you to easily tell Git which files or folders to ignore. And you can also use it to go, you can go level deep. For example, WordPress, you know, the way WordPress is, the way the folder structure for WordPress is, for example, in the root you have the index file, then you have a folder called wp_admin, then you have wp_content. So in that content folder is where your uploads will go, also where the plugins will go, it is also where your themes will go. So as you can see, you might only be working on, say, one plugin, or you might be working on one theme. So you don't want all the other stuff to be tracked as well. So that's why I said you can also go, you can also tell it to go to a specific folder, ignore the other folders. You can do that. There are a lot of tricks you can do. If you guys want me, I can go in full depth in that in a future tutorial. So this one is just going to be a very simple command. I want to do a very simple example where working, for example, on a Python file. You see the Python file creates this __ pycatch __, and then usually some compiled Python, that's the PYC files, and then it might be environmental file, that's usually only for your local system. And you might have this, if you have a virtual environment, the venv. So when you're working, as I say, working with a Python, you don't need to track those ones because those are only locally specialized for your whatever workstation you're working with, your laptop or local machine, or maybe your work computer. So you don't need that stuff to be pushed to, into the Git repository. So once listed, Git will ignore those files and not include them in future commits, even if they exist in your project. So why do you want to use gitignore? One way is for security. You can avoid committing sensitive files like API keys or passwords. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name the companies involved, but there was one API, I think it was for a payment processor or something similar, where I was working on a client's website, and they forbade me from saving the API keys in a database. So I wanted to encrypt them. They forbade me to do it. I had to leave them as plain text. Yes, that was the actual that was actual grant. So that's why I said that's one reason I don't like this open non-proprietary stuff, because I had to follow their rules. So, and the thing is, about a year and a half later, a young lady, she just graduated, she came on to the project, and she wanted to commit everything, and I said no, do not. I told her, I explained to her, she, her mind was blown. I was telling her, yeah, that's the rules, it has to stay. So the good thing is, I think about 3 or 4 years later, they finally, something clicked, and they said, oh yeah, that's a horrible way to do it. So they came up with another way where they granted different keys which you would then save or encrypt, and they were not like based on your actual password. So the things like that, just have to be careful. I'm sure you guys have also heard some stories where some people commit things into, for example, a GitHub, and then they decide, oh, we're not supposed to commit that. So those are the ways that you have to be careful when you do it. So it keeps your repositories clean, keeps your Git history free from clutter and consistency, ensure only relevant code and files are shared with collaborators. Okay, so we're going to get started here, and I'll show you. I'm going to create a project, and then I'll show you how to use the git ignore. All right, and I'll also show you how, if you've already committed a file, how you can use git ignore to remove it from the repository. So you basically use git space rm, that means to remove, and space hyphen cached, and then whatever the name of the file is, the file name. So let's get started here. I'm going to let's see here, how should I do this? Okay, so I'm going to get started here. Oops, where am I here? Is that, ooh, come on, let's create that again. Okay, so we're going to create a git folder, pretty simple. It's just git I think it's ignore hints, initialize my project. Okay, I guess I'll just, oh, I forgot to put the double ignore hints, and initialize. Oh, okay, that's fine. I'll figure it out next time. Okay, so I've initialized one. I'm gonna cd into it, my project. You can see it's created this thing called my project here. We'll take a look at this later, but I want to stay on the command line and clear this first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file called readme.txt. I'm going to create a markdown file. So inside it just says instructions go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this. So git add readme, and then I'm going to commit this file. Commit. I'll say first commit. I just need some data in here just to show you. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a branch. Branch feature branch. And I'm going to check out that branch. Okay, so I've switched to the branch. I'm going to create a file. I'm going to create a license file. I'm going to use the unlicensed. It's public domain. Then I'm going to add this license. And I'm going to commit it. Add new feature. Don't worry, this is going to make sense. I said I just need some data. Okay, so if we go here, you see I have two files now. I have the license and I have the README file. I just needed a project so now we can actually start, where I'm going to, let me clear this. I'm going to actually create a Python environment. Okay, so as you can see here, I've created a file called app. Actually, let's see if I can there we go, make this a little bit smaller so you can see it down there much better. There we go. So I've created app.py. It's an empty file. So I'm going to create a Python environment. So Python 3 -m space venv, that's to create a virtual environment. and I'll just call it VNV. Okay, so you see here it's created a virtual environment for Python, meaning that I can run Python stuff just from my virtual environment. I don't want to run it on globally or for my username, which is Edward. Okay, now that said, I am going to also create a I'm also going to create a an environment .environment file, .env file, and you see it's a hidden file right now, so I'll show you Control H on Linux to view hidden files. You see this is the file right here, and the git file, it's also a folder that's hidden, but I just want to make sure that the environment file is here. I'll open this up later and you see that actually does have something inside. Then I'm going to create a Python Python cache folder. So that's a Python, and then I'm going to put something in there to pretend that something's being compiled. So if we go here, you see that's the Python compiled file. It's empty right now, but I just wanted to show you that I'm just mimicking Python just to show you the gitignore. Okay, now that said, now I can actually create my my gitignore file. So let me clear this. So now we can actually start creating the gitignore. So I'm going to use nano here, because why not? So I'm going to use nano. So I'm going to type nano dot git. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use a text editor. I think it'll be easier. So I'm going to open this up with a text editor and make sure. There we go. Zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. And so for my Python project, I'm just going to put comments. So anything inside the comments will be ignored. If you start the line with a hash, that entire line will be ignored because it will be considered as a comment. I put another hash at the end just because it looks nice, but there's no need for that. I just need one, which is the beginning. So the first thing we want to ignore is this one, the PyCache, the __ PyCache. That's the first file we want to ignore. And that's it. So that file is going to be, that folder is a folder that's going to be ignored. Next, we want to ignore all compiled Python files. So you put the *pyc, so it will ignore all the compiled Python files. And then obviously we want to ignore the environmental file create. So that's .env. There's only one, so we can do it that way. And then finally, there's another folder we want to ignore, and that folder is our virtual environment, which was venv. So those are the files that we can now ignore. Now, I want to let you know, when you put the asterisk here, that's going to obviously get multiple of the files to ignore, but it's relative to where your gitignore file is. So for example, if we have another folder that has all these files, that folder will not be ignored because it's outside the, I guess you could say, the scope. So that's why I said you have to be very specific with the folders where you are. So now I'm going to show you how to. I already explained some wildcards, so I'm going to show you some more, just so that you know. So for example, I already explained the which one is it? The asterisk. So I'll do that one again, asterisk.tmp. So if you have any temp files, you can ignore them this way. So what this will do is, this will be for all .tmp files. Okay, so that's the easy wildcard. So if you have another one called my e.text. So what this is a match. So what this one is going to match, it's going to this matches my file .text. It also matches, for example, something like my aile.text. etc. So basically anything that starts with the word my and has ILE and it's .text, it ends, so basically it starts with the word my and ends with ILE.text. So for example, myfile.text, my a-file.text, for example, it could be myfile2, myfile3. It will match all of them. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. Okay, you guys should still be able to see that. And then the other one is if you want to match by numeric, for example, logs are usually numerically done, so you can also do that as well. So for example, this one is, this will match, for example, log1.text, log2.text, go on and go on and go on. Basically any numeric one, it has a number, it will match them. So for up to, for example, log9.text, it will match all of them. So on line 11 where we're now, so if I say .log, you guys know what that one do. It will be similar, it will match all .log files. Okay. And there's another one. So this is the one I was telling you about. If you have folders or specific files you don't want to ignore. So this one will ignore all. Ignore all .log files except this. Okay, let me zoom out one more. There we go. So you see how I have excuse me, asterisk.log. So it's going to grab all log files and put them in the gitignore. However, if right after that one, if you put the exclamation and then the name of the file you want, for example, it could be important.log, what it's going to do is it will still grab all the log files for the gitignore file, but because this one has it will leave this one, it will ignore this one. I know it's a reverse. So meaning that all these files will be put in the all the log files will be put inside our they will not be tracked, except important.log. Important.log will be tracked. I know it's a little bit confusing, but I hope that gets you. One more time. Any file which has .log is going to not be tracked in our gitignore file. However, if you put an exclamation in front of one of the .log files, for example, this one is important.log, then this one will be tracked. It won't be part of the gitignore. So that's how gitignore works. So hopefully you guys get it. And you can also use this same thing for the folder. So for example, let's say this Pi cache here, there's a subfolder inside it called, let's say, I don't know, test. So what I can do down here is I can do this as well. I can say not, it's underscore Pi cache underscore dot test. So you see here, so what this one would do is, even though the entire Pi cache is being put inside our gitignore, this test, which is a child of this one, of the Pi cache, will not be, it will be tracked if you put the exclamation mark in the front. So that's it. So that's your gitignores right here. And I can prove it. So for example, you notice how we created, if we go back here, open this guy up, you see how we created, for example, app.py. So that one would, I should actually put something in here. So there we go. So basically the readmes, all this will be perfectly fine, except for, obviously, gitignore has to be sent as well. And also default, the .git folder won't be tracked. So with that said, let me actually put something in here. Oh, there's already something there. Perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure it's not empty. Okay, now with that said, let me go back here to the command line. I'll keep this one always on top. So here on the command, oh, I think it doesn't matter because I made it short. Yeah, I made it short. Okay, so I don't need to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to prove to you that this actually does work is I'm going to commit. So I'll go git commit because I made a whole bunch. Oh, sorry, git add. So I'm going to git add. I'm going to add everything. You see that? Actually, let me show you the git status first. Git status. So you see git status. There's a gitignore file. There's a app.py. Do you notice that it didn't, because of the gitignore file, it did not grab this folder, it didn't grab this folder, it didn't grab my environmental file. Remember, environmental file has something in it. It obviously didn't grab git, that's default, and gitignore. So simply by this, so for example, even if I type git add and a space and I put that in to track everything, if I put git status, you see it only added those files, obviously my gitignore and app.py file. It completely ignored the environmental file and this folder here, the PyCache, and also the env file. So that's how, so I can commit this. It won't make much difference. I can commit -m. I'll say Python project. Right, so you see it only added those two files, .gitignore and app.py. It ignored the other stuff. So that's how gitignore works. Now, let's say you made a mistake. For example, here you see, and you add a file later. Let's say I don't want to, this app.py, I don't want to, what do you call it? I don't want to track it. So I made a mistake. It should not have been tracked is what I'm getting at. So you see I've already committed it. So you can remove it simply. First of all, let's add it to our gitignore file. Where is the, here we go. So first of all, I'll add it to our gitignore here. So I'll just say app.py. Remember, it has already been tracked. So I'm going to edit it just to show you that. So if I say, just say print not, let me zoom in here, not tracked. Now, okay. So you see I've actually modified this file. Now if I go back to the command line and I type git status, you see it's telling me the file has been modified. You see, because it was already being tracked. So I need to remove it from being tracked first. Even though it's in my gitignore file, you see it knows that the gitignore has been modified, which is true, but this one has also been modified, but it was already being tracked. So we need to remove it from the tracking, but we don't want to delete it from our project. I mean our local project. We want to remove it from the repository. So to do that, you just type git space rm in your Unix means remove, space hyphen cached, let's spell properly, cached, come on, cached, space, and the file name. So our file name is app.py for Python. So you see it has been removed, however, from the repository, but you see it's still in our folder. So I can prove it to you. If I open up this guy, you see the file is still here. See, our gitignore is here and this file is here, so everything is there. So then what I can do now, if I type git status, you see it only the gitignore, because the gitignore, remember, we modified it by adding the this file to for tracking. So then obviously I would simply git add, okay, then I git commit, now say removed app.py from trapping, or whatever you want to call it. So you can see two files changed. You see this? What it's going to do, two files changed. It's going to remove app, I call it remove app from repo, but you get the point. It's two files changed. Only one, it's deleted app.py from the repository, but the file is still locally. That's what I wanted. All right, so I don't think there's anything else I can show you guys here. I think that should be a pretty good introductory, a pretty good introductory to using gitignore. I wish a tutorial like this existed when I was learning Git, because it's very hard. You read, the problem is the experts, they make it too complicated, and the people who basically, I guess, are in my space, they are knowledgeable, or they're just beginning, they don't understand themselves, so there's not a happy medium there. So I explain everything to you because I had to learn the hard way. So there you go. So that's a nice pretty nice way to understand gitignore. And I showed you not just the simple way, because usually when you do a project, you're going to find very quickly that you're going to have nested things, and you may want to not track this, may want to track one file. I give you an example of WordPress. WordPress is a perfect example of, you don't want to track everything in WordPress, right? Because it's only what you're working on. Usually it's in the plugins folder or in the themes folder, but you don't want to track all plugins, you don't want to track all themes, you want to track only the one you're working on, that theme, and plugin, or specific plugins and specific themes. So this is how you would do it. So I'm sure you've seen lots of examples, but none of them explain. For example, none of them explain the wildcards, and I showed you how to do wildcards as well. As you see here, I showed you the patterns, so you can do patterns. Nobody explains that to you. And for example, it uses something globe. It's called a globe. So it's a little bit limited. Obviously, you can't do super fancy things, but you can do. This should be good enough for you to get started. This is most likely stuff you're always gonna look forward for. And I said you can make it way more complicated, but this is the way to do it. And of course, you can also do. Where's that example I had? Oh yeah, the one I did for the test. Remember the imported one with the exclamation? Yeah, you can do that as well. You can also do it for folders. So this is the examples here for files, but they also work for folders as well. All right, let's finish this tutorial up. So I do have some screenshots here, and you can see I broke it down for you guys, and how I used an example Python project to show you how this works. And this is a live stream, so if we click on this, as you can see, it's just a slight delay. All right, so if you want to learn more, I have programming books. They're available on Amazon. Search for Jumbo. The links are also in the description. I also have online courses at jumboshop.com. The link is also in the description. And I also offer one-on-one programming help. If you need personalized help with Git setup or programming, you can book a session with me at jumbo.com/contact. And if you need some more complex Git installation and repository migration service, I'm also available at jumboservices.com. It's not just me, I also have a partner. So we complement each other. Meaning that, if I'm not available, he can help you with this as well. All right, and open source for everyone. Git is open source and free to use. The gitignore system keeps your open source or private projects tidy and secure. It's a simple but powerful step in maintaining clean code. Okay, great. That's the end of the tutorial. I will finish this up by saying that I do perform a live stream every single day at 2 p.m. Eastern. You're free to join as you guys are watching right now live. Simply go to jumbo.com and you click on the menu. In the watch menu, live sub menu, you can see topics for this and future dated live streams. For example, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do an overview of my build. I've actually built it. The only thing missing, as I said, is the GPU. I do have the GPU, but it's missing the cooling fan. So when that comes, it might show up actually maybe today, hopefully. But even if it shows up today, I won't have time to install. Most likely tomorrow or the day after. I'll do another final overview of how the system is working. It's very quiet, so I'm very happy with that. So that's 8 p.m. Eastern. And also be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. And if you have, this is the end of this current Git series. the beginner level one. If you guys want me to continue, let me know. If you have specific things you want me to go deeper into, let me know as well. I've had fun doing this series, and hope to see you guys tonight and tomorrow. Thanks for that. I'll let you guys go, and I'm checking the live chat right now. I don't see any chat requests, so I'm gonna end this, and I'll see you guys tonight 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks guys, have a great day.